Thank you for joining me today. My name is Alicia, and I am here with my channel Sunshine and Magic 123, talking to you about some of the astrological happenings that are going on here at the beginning of October and how some of the energies will be playing out. I am an astrologer that uses predominantly Western tropical astrology. I do also have a background in traditional astrology, which is Hellenistic, as well as a little bit of evolutionary astrology and modern astrology, all rolled into one. So, as I'm bringing you the information, this will be geared towards the Western tropical zodiac. So, when we are sitting in the energy, and today is October 4th, 2023, the energy today, all the way through, I have in my notes here the 16th. So from October 5th, which is tomorrow, all the way through October 16th, the planet Pluto is going to remain on the same exact space in the sky. So that's 5 to 16, that's 11 days that Pluto will be just pulsating at that same degree, at that 27th degree and 50, I believe it's 53 minutes. And that is the 27th degree is the degree of the United States Pluto return. So there is a pulsating here, and there's lots happening in the skies and in the works over here in the United States with a lot of litigations going on against some of our top politicians. So I'm not much into politics, but I did just hear some things, and lots of people are being looked at and moved around and shuffled around and being called to new positions. So there's a lot of energy that's happening here, at least in the United States, with this 27th degree pulsating. And so that goes on all the way until October 16th. Then, but right in the middle of that, so from October 5th all the way till the 10th is when Pluto is retrograde. And then on the 10th, Pluto goes direct. And so what does this mean? Pluto is our planet of transformation, metamorphosis, regeneration. Things cannot remain the same as they were. There must be an evolution of some sort. Pluto is going into that really creepy basement, but this time you have on a headlamp and another lamp, and it shines into every single corner so that you can see all of the creepy crawlies and the cobwebs and all of the things that are down in the basement. All the lights come on, and so every corner with Pluto is generally overturned and revealed. And so we currently, as a country in the United States, are having that last go through of this degree. And so turning the lights on and showing everything that's happening is quite prevalent out there right now. And so how does that come down into each individual, though? The Pluto that's in you, we had this crazy Pisces full moon at the end of August, and that was a deep, raw dive into what it is that you were surrendering in order to make yourself ready to stand in your most authentic nature. And then we just had an Aries full moon on September 29th. And that was, what am I releasing in terms of how I show up in relation to others in allowing my most authentic self to shine through. And so as we're working through these energies, this Pluto regeneration and transformation is making sure that we're aware of what is going on and how we want things to change and where we're going with that. But it's that for the next 11 days, that pulsating on that same degree at that same moment in time is like just a humming that's going on, and as it continues and stays for that whole duration of time, it will disrupt, it will create the need to move through that energy because it's just remaining. And so as things bubble up to the surface, they're asking to be looked at, they're asking to be moved through so that you can come out with a different outcome at the end of it. Uncomfortable conversations and um tension like no tomorrow. So more of my notes here. Today, October 4th, we have Mercury moving into Libra. So that is a nice placement in the fact that Mercury has a quick moving mind, and when it moves into Libra, it is activated, and a greater sense of balance comes into play in terms of all of the plans and the plotting and the creating order out of chaos that we just did when Mercury was in Virgo. And we had a really long time where Mercury was in Virgo because it did a retrograde. So we were going through all the plans, all the processes and procedures that we had in place, and really looking at, are they serving the greater outcome of where you want to be? And now that Mercury is going to move into Libra, it's going to bring in that balance. So now I have all these plans and all this stuff, and now I have this vacancy of what wasn't working, and now I need to figure out how that's going to come together and create a synergized way, a strategy. And that is what Libra is amazing at, is creating strategy. So Mercury comes in and we create strategy. And so for the next how many days is it? From October 4th all the way until October 12th, Mercury and Mars are both in Libra together. The sun is there as well. So all of them are having what I would consider is a coming together of the plan, the action forward, and how you are being represented in that as your truest self. Because the sun is what gets you up in the morning, what gets you out of bed, what takes you forward in life. And with Mercury, the mind, and Mars, the forward momentum, the action taker, that all being represented in Libra, the balancing act. How are we going to take the plans that you just created and the actions that we're going to take forward and move them forward with how you're showing up and what's taking you forward in life and what makes you happy and what really sets your heart on fire. And so all of that energy there in Libra is percolating, and we have an eclipse coming up. And so let me just make sure that I'm not missing something. So I've got today, 10/4, we have Mercury going into Libra. It's late in the evening. 10/8, we have some major tension in the sky when Mars and Pluto come into a square. And so a square is a 90-degree angle. And so if you think of a stop sign and both people are going in opposite directions, but they land at the exact same time, who makes the decision on what goes first? And so there's an action, and there has to be some type of communication that brings the two forward. Mars, the planet of action, forward momentum, ignition, moving, doing, can also be the planet of severing, cutting things out, is coming into that square position with Pluto, which is that planet of total transformation, metamorphosis, and regeneration. And so as those two are coming into that square angle, what are you taking forward is where we're at on October 8th. October 10th, we also have two big things happening on that day. We have Saturn and Venus in a opposition. And when those two are across from each other, there's always a reflection when planets are across from each other. You can see each other at their greatest point. But it's not up close, it's farther away. So there's a reflectionary piece to that. And Saturn is the planet of constriction and achievement and restriction and what is serving the purpose. He's also time, and because we are always held to the constraints of time. And Venus is our resources, the things we love, our possessions, our money and our finances. And when Venus is across from Saturn, there can be things that come up in our financial world, constrictions around resources and finances. And so that's on October 10th, 10:10. And on October 10th as well, at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do have Pluto going direct, as I mentioned. So in the morning, we have that financial constriction that's had this pulse of Pluto going on behind it. And then Pluto goes direct. And so as a planet goes from retrograde into its direct motion, it's just like a train or a car or anything that has momentum behind it. It takes a moment to make that stationary stop before it then can move in the opposite direction. And so when Pluto on the 10th is making that stationary stop, it increases the need to create change, because now all of a sudden we're going from, I was reviewing the change in the metamorphosis that I had put into play, into now, okay, let's make these changes. I've got to get the process and the plan in place to move forward, make that regeneration into the works, to take the next step with it. And so that is coming to play on the 10th. We also then on the 12th have Mars moving into its home sign of Scorpio. So at that time, Mars has been in Libra, where Mars, the planet of severing, as I mentioned earlier, and action and forward momentum and ignition, in the sign of Libra, it has to think about other people. It has to be, it's when a planet is not in its home sign, it's ruled by the person who rules that sign, and that would be Venus. Venus is about those things I was talking about, resources and finances, but she's also about beauty and the yin energy. And so Mars is the yang energy. So Mars has had to be under yin rule, thinking about others, balancing how the actions they're taking are going to have ramifications in the greater whole. Mars moving into Scorpio, now he's like, oops, I'm home and I get to do what I want to do, the way I want to do it, when I want to do it, and no longer under those restrictions of necessarily having to think about others. So the energy coming up on 10-12 significantly changes in our forward momentum. The intensity will increase. The desire to there's no small talk when Mars moves into Scorpio. There's no small talk. There is depth to what is going on, but there's no need to try to have that nominal means nothing conversation. So know that energy right before our eclipse is going to make a big change. And at that same time, that Pluto is still standing still at that same degree. So it's pulsating in the back. And now Mars is at home. And so there's this energy that's going to just be punchy coming up to the eclipse. And so we have the eclipse. Then we also have a Friday the 13th this year. So in October, which is an amazing thing happening in the month of October, because that's the month that we're closest to the ancestors and the energy of the other realm. And so Friday the 13th, Mars and Saturn are two planets that are known for harsher actions, the harder things to do, constriction and restriction and severing and the cutting out of things are coming into a harmonious aspect on the 13th. And that means that there may be things that have been restricting you that are lost in your life. You may cut free from a job. You may schedule a surgery. You may decide to clear out all the clutter of your closets and release that energy. But it's the taking away from, uh but in a good way, not necessarily in a harsh way. And then we have the eclipse on the 14th, which is a Libra new moon eclipse. That is bringing in energy of, it's a kind of interesting one because it's a new moon eclipse, but it's with the south node. So when we have something with the south node, which is exactly opposite the north node, which is how we receive our eclipses, the north node is what carries us forward, and the south node is what we're releasing from the past, what we know. So we're releasing something so that we can have room for the seeds to plant for something new. And in Libra, it's a level of codependency. It's a way that we've shown up in relationships. It's a way that, oh, and there's my dryer ding. So that's just confirmation that we are releasing something at that point in time of a world of codependency, and we can be codependent in so many realms, and codependency is not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that you are hooked into a relationship with someone else, and that relationship can be within work, it can be within like a babysitter, it can be within a partner, it can be within a significant other, it can be within like the local comings and goings, it can be in the PTA, it can be in at the coffee house, it can be in a club that you're in, it can be in somebody that's abroad that you're communicating with, it can be within a school relationship. So there's things that are moving and being released, and whenever there is an eclipse, they are portals, and it's usually the releasing of some energy. But this is the new moon eclipse on the south node, so there's a releasing while there's also a receiving of something brand new. So allow the energies on the eclipse to come in and shake free things so that you have room again for that most authentic self to show up in those partnerships and plant those new seeds with new partnerships showing up in a more authentically you way. And so on that same day, we also will have Mercury is hanging out with the sun and the moon and the south node. So we've got those four pieces on that side. And then on the other side, we have Chiron and we have the north node. And Chiron and Mercury are directly opposite each other. Chiron isn't one that's talked about in terms of a planet because it's an asteroid that hangs out between Jupiter and Saturn. Nope, it's an asteroid that hangs out between Uranus and Saturn. And that asteroid that hangs out there is what is considered our wound. It is the thing that happened to us when we were younger that left a deep impression that we are constantly learning and acclimating and integrating the energies so that we can use that wound um, as a superpower instead of as a smoldering blanket. And as this, the way that our mind is and coming into balance with the plan and what we've just come to terms with in Virgo, we're now in Libra, directly opposite our wound. How does our plan allow our wound to be brought into aspect and synthesized, integrated? How does the reflection of that wound in our mind allow us to release some of the things so that we have more space to plant? And there's just an absolutely lovely lovely amount of energy that is coming in between now and the eclipse. So the big days for the month: 10-4 today, which is Mercury moving into Libra. 10-8, which has Mars squaring Pluto, which is a point of the forward momentum needing to have some type of metamorphosis to it, and how are we moving forward in what we are regenerating through, and that transformation that we're taking on. And then 1010, we have that Venus, which is opposing Saturn, so that constriction and restriction versus our resources and our finances. And then Pluto goes direct on 1010. 1012, Mars moves into its home sign, so there could be a little more punchy and spicy energy that day. 1014, we then have the eclipse, and we also have Mercury opposing Chiron. And so all of these energies, again, of the eclipse, the releasing of the way that we've shown up in relationships so that we have space to be our most authentic self and showing up in them, moving forward. And then the releasing of some of the mental ideas and thoughts that we had around our wound, and how that's playing out, and releasing some of that so that we have, again, more space for that authentic self to shine through. Our wound does not have to be something that we are ashamed of. Oftentimes, when we can heal the wound, it becomes more of something that we can help others through that process. And I've done quite a bit of that. They call it shadow work, and working with my wound. If anyone has any questions about that, I'd be more than happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you. I am going to leave it there. It is my utter joy and pleasure to bring you information about the energies that are coming up over the next couple 10 days, 2 weeks-ish, and how that's going to play out potentially in the greater scheme of things in the world, as well as the energies that may be percolating in your world. To know and be aware helps us to be slightly more prepared, as opposed to reactive or proactive. And I hope that you have an absolutely fabulous day, and I look forward to the time we get to connect again soon. Again, this is Alicia Clark Tepper. My YouTube channel is Sunshine and Magic. I do call myself Alicia Sunshine here, and I hope that you subscribe, comment, like, and share, so that more people can be fed this nourishing information and help them make order out of chaos. So come grow with me as I learn more and talk about more, and bring that into everything that I do. Have a fantastic day, and I look forward to the time we connect again.